starts crying again. Like, the baby's just crying in the worst possible times you could ever have a baby cry as an actor. Hey, I'm Justin Baldoni, director of It Ends With Us, and
Brian Friedman, Baldoni's powerful attorney, told TMZ that Miss Lively's recent attempt to dismiss herself from what he called the self-created disaster she set in motion is one of the most egregious abuses of the legal system, arguing that once she filed her lawsuit it was inevitable Baldoni would take a career hit, prompting his response that her actions were defamatory, while she counters that his lawsuit is retaliatory. On the street, the buzz is unmistakable. Insiders say Justin Baldoni has just dealt Blake Lively a serious blow in their ongoing legal battle, with the court's latest ruling reportedly leaving her stunned after she allegedly expected an easy dismissal, only to be blindsided by Baldoni's relentless push, as Lively accuses Baldoni of retaliation and his legal team accuses her of abusing the system. Whispers are growing that her strategy, marked by alleged underhanded tactics and aggressive legal maneuvers, may finally be backfiring, raising the question of whether she is now being forced to face the consequences of her own calculated moves. What began as a relatively minor dispute on the set of It Ends With Us, the film adaptation of Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel, has rapidly escalated into a high-stakes legal war, with both sides digging in as lawsuits flew, alleging defamation, sabotage, and emotional distress. Lively has sought to portray Baldoni as a manipulator who turns small disagreements into major legal conflicts, while Baldoni insists he is the true victim, claiming he was targeted by a powerful star determined to protect her public image at any cost, as parties on both sides attempt to distance themselves, including Lively's publicist seeking removal from the lawsuit. Fans are closely tracking every cryptic message and sealed court filing, with some now suspecting Lively as the driving force behind the scandal. Baldoni's lawsuit paints her as the architect of his sudden fall from grace, alleging she destroyed his reputation and transformed him from a respected industry figure into a Hollywood outcast, even accusing her, along with Ryan Reynolds and other influential players, of orchestrating his blacklisting from major studios, while emphasizing that the law prohibits weaponizing defamation claims to retaliate against those who file legal actions or speak out publicly about harassment. The result, Baldoni claims, is that doors are slamming shut wherever he turns, with accusations eclipsing his once untouchable philanthropic image and leaving him fighting allegations of misconduct as rumors swirl that he is manipulative, unprofessional, and worse, while the media feeds on every development, turning even minor courtroom maneuvers into sensational headlines. Baldoni insists this is all part of a coordinated smear campaign orchestrated by Blake Lively and her team, and as evidence mounts in court with what his side calls contradictory statements piling up against her, the pressure continues to intensify. Lively, for her part, has characterized Baldoni's lawsuit as vengeful, rambling, and a profound abuse of the legal process, insisting it has no place in federal court. Yet critics argue that despite her carefully curated public charm, her animosity is becoming harder to deny, pointing to a barrage of legal motions aimed at keeping potentially damaging information sealed, including what supporters describe as a frantic effort to block private text messages with other celebrities from becoming public, messages they believe could reveal attempts to shape negative press or influence studios. The question being asked is simple: if there is nothing to hide, why the panic? Brian Friedman, Baldoni's attorney, told TMZ that Lively's attempt to dismiss herself from what he calls a self-created disaster is one of the most blatant abuses of the legal system, while Lively counters by seeking dismissal of Baldoni's countersuit, labeling his claims nonsensical retaliation for her original harassment complaint and arguing his case wastes judicial resources. Observers note the irony, given that Lively herself launched an aggressive wave of accusations at the outset, while legal experts emphasize that the right to seek redress and the press's right to report are protected by absolute privileges. According to those close to Baldoni, many of Lively's earlier tactics now appear excessive, making the idea of a settlement seem unrealistic, as Baldoni and his team believe it is their moral duty to take the case to trial, arguing that backing down would allow her to escape accountability for what they allege was bullying and manipulation, turning the fight into something larger than reputation alone and, in their view, a test of whether powerful Hollywood figures can damage lesser-known talents without consequence. Even as Lively maintains that because she filed the harassment complaint first, Baldoni has no right to sue her in response. Here's the catch: there's no script, and the stakes are painfully real, with careers on the line and serious financial fallout looming, as rumors swirl that producers at T-Lit-style entertainment are hoping to turn this courtroom spectacle into a full-blown docuseries packed with dramatic depositions, behind-the-scenes tension, and leaked text messages that could become the next streaming obsession. At the center of it all is what many see as Blake Lively's seemingly invincible PR machine clashing with Justin Baldoni's underdog fight to clear his name, with supporters arguing that if Baldoni can prove her claim was filed with malicious intent, he may actually have a shot, while skeptics suggest she could still escape on a technicality. Fans have been glued to every development, watching as Lively's team initially tried to frame the dispute as Baldoni's desperate, attempt to draw attention to side projects, only for that narrative to weaken as details emerged, including her intense push to keep private text exchanges with powerful friends sealed, fueling suspicion that she may have been orchestrating the chaos herself. As court filings, offhand remarks, and online chatter piled up, the public appetite for any detail casting her in an unflattering light grew, and while her publicist's attorney insisted she bravely spoke up about alleged misconduct, the broader narrative began to shift, though some still defended Lively and argued Baldoni dug his own grave. Social media sentiment noticeably turned, with once neutral threads filling with accusations that she manipulated the situation and weaponized her reputation, causing her carefully polished public image to unravel under mounting scrutiny. Some fans went further, branding her fake and calculating, but the real shock came from her aggressive effort to keep certain text messages hidden, warning that their release could cause irreparable harm not only to her, but also to her husband Ryan Reynolds and others linked to the controversy. Those texts, rumored to be loaded with Hollywood gossip and strategic plotting, are now at the heart of speculation, with critics claiming they could reveal efforts to shape negative media narratives, influence high-stakes deals, or sideline Baldoni from major projects, prompting legal analysts to question whether they expose a stark contrast between Lively's public image and her private actions. Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, has doubled down, accusing her of abusing the legal system and blasting her attempt to dismiss herself from the case, arguing that if these messages make it into evidence, the fallout could be devastating and her once flawless image may finally come crashing down. Fans could end up getting an unfiltered look into Blake Lively's private conversations, with some speculating the messages might even implicate her husband, Ryan Reynolds, suggesting he was involved from the beginning, while others believe the texts could be filled with insider gossip about rival stars or manipulative PR schemes, whatever they contain, clearly fueling Lively's fierce fight to keep them hidden. Baldoni's team insists those same messages would completely vindicate him, proving Lively fabricated false stories and ruthless accusations to protect her spotless image while deliberately undermining his career. And Baldoni himself maintains that once a judge sees the texts in full context, it will be obvious her entire case rests on twisted narratives, which is why he refuses to compromise or back down. Observers say Lively's frantic attempts to seal or dismiss this evidence speak volumes, especially considering she was Hollywood's golden girl just a few years ago, dominating box offices with a flawless public persona, only to now be scrambling to stop a tidal wave of negative press from swallowing her career. As fans mock her efforts online as hypocritical given her past insistence that she had nothing to hide, legal analysts have torn apart her motion to dismiss, noting that if Baldoni can even partially prove claims of defamation or blacklisting, there is no realistic path to shutting the lawsuit down before trial. And after TMZ reported that Lively accused Baldoni of filing his suit out of revenge, many believe a jury showdown is becoming inevitable, a nightmare scenario for a star of her stature who would dread ordinary people dissecting every text, email, and decision under oath. Lively's team has framed her stance as one of transparency while claiming she wants to protect other A-listers from collateral damage, painting Baldoni as a bitter, publicity-hungry aggressor. But his attorneys respond sharply, asking why harmless texts wouldn't simply be released to end the controversy, arguing that her resistance only deepens suspicion. Baldoni has fired back by calling her tactics classic bullying, attacking the accuser, smearing the case, and then flipping the narrative to play the victim, while critics point out that her legal team repeatedly avoids directly addressing whether she tried to blacklist him, focusing instead on personal attacks. As the backstory resurfaces, rumors trace the conflict to the set of It Ends With Us, where tensions allegedly grew between Lively, positioned as the film's biggest star, and Baldoni, who was heavily involved creatively, with reports of escalating hostility, a heated rooftop confrontation, and Lively later hiring a lawyer and accusing him of misconduct. Claims Baldoni strongly denies, insisting the disputes were purely creative. He alleges Lively twisted events to cast herself as the victim, leveraged her star power and connections, including Reynolds, to paint him as the villain, and ultimately overshadowed the film itself with behind-the-scenes drama, a narrative further inflamed by rumors of a late-night apology message that her camp framed as an admission of guilt while his supporters saw it as humility under pressure. Tying everything together is Ryan Reynolds' alleged involvement, with Baldoni's legal team claiming Reynolds mocked him publicly, used industry influence to damage his reputation, and helped push a narrative that contributed to his professional isolation, turning what began as an on-set disagreement into one of Hollywood's most explosive legal and reputational battles. Lively's steadfast support of Ryan Reynolds, even as these allegations mount, has only intensified speculation about her true role in the conflict, prompting critics to ask why she would continue backing what Baldoni's team describes as underhanded tactics if she genuinely believed herself innocent, especially as they allege she and Reynolds coordinated strategies to bury Baldoni under waves of damaging headlines. with growing suspicion that her desperation to keep certain text messages secret may stem from material that could implicate Reynolds as well. If evidence were to surface showing his involvement in an alleged smear campaign, Baldoni's supporters argue it would validate his claims from the very start, a prospect that has industry insiders warning. Lively's career could suffer serious consequences in Hollywood's notoriously fickle ecosystem, where even a single scandal can undo years of meticulous brand building centered on elegance, motherhood, and a flawless public image. Although her attorneys insist the lawsuit is merely a narrow dispute unrelated to her broader career and portray her as a woman standing up to a man who made her life miserable on set, skeptics countered that the narrative rings hollow when weighed against accusations that she leveraged star power and secret alliances to sabotage Baldoni behind the scenes. Unlike many Hollywood legal fights that quietly settle, this one shows no signs of resolution, with both sides entrenched and convinced of victory. While the mix of high-profile litigation and rumors of incriminating texts has turned the case into a spectacle rivaling major film premieres, one that could expose private communications, revealing everything from petty grievances to calculated maneuvers. Beyond personal drama, the lawsuit may reshape how Hollywood handles workplace complaints and power dynamics, potentially forcing studios to adopt stricter safeguards. As the spectacle grows with reports of a UK-based documentary chronicling the feud through leaked messages, court filings, and behind-the-scenes footage that frames Lively as a PR juggernaut, and Baldoni as a scrappy underdog fighting for vindication. With each revelation, Lively's carefully curated image faces deeper scrutiny. Reynolds' public persona is questioned, and Baldoni's claims gain renewed attention, turning the dispute into a broader battle over power, reputation, and perception in an industry that often shields the influential. Whether the text messages ultimately confirm or contradict either side remains uncertain, but the outcome of this high-stakes fight could permanently alter the careers of everyone involved, as fans remain transfixed by a feud critics call a Hollywood spectacle yet cannot ignore, further amplified by a dramatized documentary featuring reenactments, speculative apologies, and alleged insider commentary that Lively's team dismisses as biased even as their objections fuel curiosity. As casting directors, producers, and sponsors watch cautiously from the sidelines, insiders say Lively's camp is scrambling to seal potentially damaging documents while Baldoni's lawyers push relentlessly to expose every detail, setting the stage for a legal showdown that spills far beyond the courtroom and threatens to redefine how both stars are seen forever. For Blake Lively, a courtroom showdown threatens the meticulously polished image she has spent years building, and even a legal victory could leave lasting scars as critics and skeptics remember the extraordinary lengths she allegedly went to in order to protect her reputation. Justin Baldoni, meanwhile, faces risks of his own, knowing that if the court or new revelations cast doubt on his on-set behavior, his name could be just as severely damaged. Yet he remains resolute, convinced that exposing the truth is worth any personal cost. Fans are riveted, treating every leaked text, every motion, and every headline as another piece of an unfolding drama that has pulled back the curtain on the vanity, ambition, and backstabbing often associated with Hollywood's elite. While both sides issue carefully scripted public statements, leaked documents and depositions hint at a shadowy world of manipulation, betrayal, and calculated maneuvering, with each new revelation fueling the media frenzy and keeping the Baldoni-Lively feud firmly in the tabloid spotlight. Resolution feels distant as Lively maneuvers to preserve her public image, forge alliances, and keep her most damaging secrets buried, while Baldoni presses forward with a singular goal of revealing what he claims is the truth, leaving alleged lies, secret messages, and massive egos to dominate the battlefield. Neither side shows any appetite for settlement, and fans remain on edge, consuming every rumor, filing, and scandalous update as they brace for what could become one of Hollywood's most unforgettable legal showdowns. The central question lingers: will Lively manage to quash Baldoni's claims and protect her carefully constructed empire? Or will Baldoni rise from the chaos, exposing manipulation and tearing down a facade built over years? One thing is undeniable: the appetite for scandal in Tinseltown has rarely been this intense. And regardless of the outcome, Lively's transformation from beloved star to alleged manipulator may be irreversible, while Baldoni continues his fight to seize control of the narrative, setting the stage for a verdict that remains uncertain and a clash that seems poised to define an era in Hollywood.